So then I have one more, is it one more? Yes. One more knitting object. Knitting progress. Knitting project. Hi friends, and welcome to my little corner of the internet, DoSo Knits, where I share with you guys how knitting and other fiber crafts have woven into my life. Thank you so much for being here today. This is going to be my podcast episode number 71, and in these episodes I like to share with you finished objects, works in progress, and all of that kind of fun fibery goodness. So I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have something cozy to drink. Currently I am finishing my last cup of coffee for the day, and then I have some water to drink. And I'm excited to talk to you about all the things that I have finished in the month of September. I have quite a bit of fun things to share with you guys today. So hope you get settled in, you're cozy. I've set up my camera a little bit today because Sherlock is over here and he is nice and cozy. We'll see how long he stays. He was trying to find a place to sit, so I just moved his bed. And I thought he'd be kind of fun to see. So at the beginning of the episode, I just want to go into a little bit of admin things. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kristen. I am the host behind this little corner of the internet. I live in Denver, Colorado with my husband Shane, and then our two animals, Sherlock and then Ebony, who is our cat. And you can follow me other places. I am DoSo Knits on YouTube, Instagram, and Ravelry. I'm also on Threads, although I haven't posted. I usually just go on there and read things. And yeah, that's basically all the places that you can find me. And if you're a returning viewer, you'll notice that this episode is a little longer than what I anticipated. Not in length of this video, but between recordings. Since my episode 70 podcast, that was about the beginning of September, kind of recapping August. And this podcast episode today is basically at the beginning of October, kind of recapping September. So I'm kind of going over what I finished over the last month. And I think going forward, this is kind of the direction I want to go with my podcast episodes. So I'm thinking I'm going to post one podcast episode at the beginning of the month, kind of recapping what happened over the previous month. And the reason I want to do that is for a couple of reasons. One, just I'm about to go into a really busy season at work, and so my overall crafting time is just gonna not be as high as it has been. And honestly, since the beginning of the summer, I think my knitting output isn't super high, which is totally fine in the sense of I don't necessarily want to feel like I have to churn out projects super quickly. And when I was recording podcasts a lot closer together, I felt like if I didn't have anything done or a ton of progress, I want to make sure that the videos that I'm recording and bringing to you all have value. And it's not just the same thing every week being I added 2 more inches on this hoodie, because that might be all that I'm specifically getting done on a project. And because I'm moving a little bit more, I kind of go in waves, and I'm kind of monogamous on a project for a while. So for 2 weeks, all I did was work on Shane's traveler hoodie, and I just got some inches on that done. But if I had recorded a podcast for that, it literally would have just been look at these inches I added to this project. And I really didn't touch many other things, so there's not a lot of content for the video. And I think that just comes as knitting is a slow craft. It can take a while to add some inches onto projects, and especially things if you're going to wear them. And I'm not a super small person. I usually wear XL size t-shirts. And if I'm knitting with finer weights of yarns, they're going to take a lot longer. And so I just want to kind of switch to a monthly podcast kind of schedule, so that when I do come to you, I have a good amount of projects to share. I can talk about the progress, and it's not going to feel repetitive every week being this is the same thing that I've been working on, and you've seen it grow like 2 inches every 2 weeks. So that's kind of my goal with this. It'll also just give me a little more breathing room in order, you know, if there's a really busy week at work, it's not like, oh my gosh, I really need to just spend my weekend only knitting so that I have something to share when I do go record. And I think that's kind of why the month just kind of naturally passed between my last episode and this one, because when I was due to record, I didn't have a ton of like progress to share. And like I said, if you're spending time with me, you know, time is valuable. I want to make sure that when I'm recording, it brings value and has some good content. So that's one of the main reasons. I also think with this switch, it'll open up a little more of my time to record other types of videos. Like most of these podcast episodes are like, here's my finished objects, here's my whips. And I like doing those. I like the recaps. I like sitting down and talking about my projects. And I know people like to watch them. But there are other types of videos like vlogs, like project type videos that I know not everyone likes to watch. They take a little longer to produce, in the sense if I want to do a project vlog, like working on a specific garment, and I want to record the process from start to finish, I'm not going to be able to just knit a garment in 2 weeks. But if I have a little more time between the podcast episodes, I can kind of record these little snippets throughout the making process of different projects, so that if I want to make these little project vlogs, I could. But it also just opens up some more time for other types of vlogs or videos. So I'm thinking things like a yarn hauls, if I have them, or project specific vlogs, or even just like day in the week vlogs. It kind of just opens up a little more time to do that, and those could kind of be like the videos in between podcast videos. So if some other types of videos you think would be interesting, please let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know what kind of videos you like to watch. Sometimes I don't always include like acquisitions in like these episodes, because I know not everyone likes like acquisition and haul videos. So if seeing something like that, specifically like seeing what I got at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, which is where this shirt is from, and I'll mention a little later. If you want to see like a yarn or like a haul video of all the things I got there, let me know. Or if project vlogs are good, or week in the life vlogs, weekend vlogs, just let me know what would be interesting, what were kind of videos that you would like to see. So one final thing on this subject before we move into the knitting, because I'll be posting less frequently, the algorithm isn't going to necessarily like this. Like the YouTube algorithm is just, it doesn't promote videos or content creators that don't post as often or don't get as much engagement. So I just want to say this, like, not in the sense of like I want more subscribers and I want more like people to watch my videos. Of course I do, because I love sharing with all of you, but that's not like my number one goal of having a YouTube channel. My number one goal is connecting with all of you who watch. And if you are sitting here and watching this video, you are my person. I am so happy you're here, and I love to connect with you. But I do not want the algorithm, because I'm not posting as much, to not promote me to you. So if you don't want to miss videos, because they will be more spread out, it is really important to subscribe or turn on notifications for the content creators that you want to watch. Because people that post more frequently, they're automatically going to pop up in your feed. But people that post less often, they're a lot less likely to pop up in your feed when they do post, because the videos are more spread out. So just a like algorithm note to all of you. If you want to make sure you don't miss videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you really don't want to miss them, you can turn on the notifications. Subscriptions like automatically will pop up in your feed, but sometimes you can still miss them unless you're like actively checking your subscription feed. But notifications will literally send you like a ping to your phone saying like, Kristen posted a new video. So just letting you know, if you have any questions about like the YouTube algorithm and how it works or like why these are important, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to explain what I can. Essentially, the algorithm likes people that engage, which is why people say like, if you like the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, because then that helps push it to people, even if it's not like constant content, which I know I don't always want constant content because we just get content from everywhere. So just letting you know, if you don't want to miss them, make sure you do that. That was a lot of admin here at the beginning. So if you're still with me, thank you. As always, timestamps are down below in the show notes, and there's chapters, so you can skip ahead or skip around if you need to reference things. And also I link to my Ravelry project pages, and in the project pages I share which videos I talk about projects, and then yeah, links to all my project pages are in the description. But that's basically everything that I have up front. So with that, we'll dive into finished objects for the month of September. The first finished object that I have to share with you guys today, I do not currently have with me because it was a gift for one of my coworkers' birthdays, which already happened, so I gave it to her. However, I'll post a photo here on the screen. I made a hot water bottle cover, and I used the pattern by Emily Bolden. This is a DK weight pattern. It's a free pattern on Ravelry. I started this because I really just needed a quick and easy project. This one's nice because it was DK weight. It definitely went very quickly. I used Farmer's Daughter's fibers. I used some Sock Squad, which is a like monthly subscription that Farmer's Daughter Fibers does. I've not actually been a part of the club, but I bought this duo socks yarn. It was a set, and I bought it from a D-stash. So it's been sitting in my stash for a while, and my coworker's favorite color is blue, and so I've been thinking about making this hot water bottle cover for her for like the past year. Because it is, she has mentioned to me she uses hot water bottle covers, but has mentioned how like if the water's too hot, you know, you're like, there's still a potential of getting burned through even the rubber. And I had asked her if she had a cover for her bottle, and she didn't. So this was something that has been on my plan to make for a while, and then her birthday is at the end of September. So I needed a quick and easy project, so I cast this on, I think like a week before her birthday, because I needed something quick, and I finished it very quickly. I think it took only a couple of nights. It was the fingering weight held together. The pattern, I think technically has you increase to like 84 stitches, but I started doing that, knit a couple inches, and then tried it on my hot water bottle cover, and there was too many extra stitches on the sides. So I ripped out and started over, and I only increased to 80 stitches, and that worked a lot better, and it knit up super quickly. It's only 80 stitches around, and you have like cast on minimally, do a couple increase rows to like get that rounded bottom, knit your length, do some decreases, and then some ribbing at the top. It was a really fun project. She really appreciated it, and it was a good way to get some fingering weight out of my stash. Overall, I used about 90 grams for that project, and it was about 417 yards. And that is with the fingering weight held double. And yeah, the yarn was lovely to work with. It was a little, like, not elastic. It was a little firm, but I think for a hot water bottle cover, that will be good. It was 100% wool. There wasn't a ton of details about the yarn on the label, and since I got it as a D-stash, I'm not 100% sure. But it was fun because the one color was just like a teal solid color, and the other one was a like speckled white, and I just held them together for like a nice marled look. And at the end, there was both the plain stockinette and the reverse stockinette. I liked both a lot, and I couldn't tell which side of the fabric I liked more. So I showed them both to her, being like, you can technically flip it inside out, whichever side you like more. But yeah, that was my first project, and it got some skeins out of my stash, and it was a fun, quick project, which is what I needed, especially because a lot of my projects are quite large. So then I have one more finished object that I have to show you for the month of September, and these are a pair of DK weight Scrappy socks that I finished for Shane. I had started these for the Yarnia sock bingo, and I had finished the first one, and then I went into September with the second one, and I had thought about doing it for meetings or like putting it as like my card knitting, and then I didn't really make a ton of progress, and then the end of the month was approaching. And sometimes the end of the month is a real motivator for me in order to get some projects off the needles, because every month I track how many skeins in grams I take out of my stash versus how much I bring in. So sometimes when there's small projects that are close to being done, I like to try to knock those out. So I knew these socks were something that I could finish before the end of the month. So I had like, I think the end of the month, September 30th was on a Monday. And so I think I picked these up on the Saturday to try to finish over that last weekend of September. And I did. So here are the socks. So these completely used scraps from my stash, and I really like how they turned out. So they're DK weight socks. I used a US 3 needle to knit them. I did 48 stitches. For the stitch counts, I used the Crazy Sock Ladies vanilla DK sock pattern, but I did switch to a different heel in these socks. So this heel is from the Forks in the Road sock pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, and essentially that pattern is a pattern for the heel. It has the rest of the sock as well, but specifically I looked it up because this is a different type of afterthought heel versus like the normal one where you kind of do just a wedge toe for the heel. So this heel is called the thumb joint top hat heel, because the way you knit this heel is you go in, either cut or pick up your stitches that are going to be for the heel because it's an afterthought heel. When I knit these, I knit a tube and then I cut in the heel. So I picked up 24 stitches for the heel because my total stitch count was 48, so you did half for 24. And the reason this heel gets its name is because it's the thumb joint top hat heel. So you go in and you pick up your stitches and you just knit straight for the length of the recipient's length from their tip of their thumb to the joint of their thumb. So from here, let me use my other hand. So you measure from the tip to the joint and you knit flat rounds for that. So for Shane, that was a 1.5 inches. And then after that, the top hat part of the heel is you do decreases like you would in a standard hat. So it's like, I think it's divisible by, it was either 6 or 8. And you just, you like knit 2 together, knit 3, knit together, knit 3, knit 2. And you, every round you decrease the amount. So it makes a like hat top heel. And on these blockers, it does look funny. Off the blockers, it looks really funny. Like it looks like, I want to say like a pimple. Like it looks like something like protruding. But I've had Shane try them on, and on the foot, it looks great, and he says it fits well. So that was a new to me afterthought heel that I tried. The yarns that I used, since I haven't mentioned that yet, and they are all scraps. So the self-striping color is Nomadic Yarns Yak Sock in the colorway You'll Float 2. Held with silver, sorry, silver sparkle sock from Les Garçons. It was the colorway Mysterious Crow. And then for my heel, this was merino nylon from Stranded Dye Works in the colorway, it was color 3 of a fade kit. So this used a good amount of yarn from my stash. For the main colors, I used 50 grams of each of those. And then for the heel, I used 20 grams. So overall, these socks used 120 grams from my leftover stash. And I think the marling of the self-striping with the plain color, I mentioned this last time, I think it looks really cool. I think it's a cool way to use up self-striping scraps. So that was my second finished object for the month. I need to block these today so I can get some finished object photos. But I really just don't think the heel is gonna look like, I don't think it's gonna look nice on these blockers. So honestly, I don't know if it's really worth a block. I may just take a photo of them on here like this and then give them to Shane. It is cooling down here, so I know he'll appreciate some DK socks in general. And he wears basically hand knit socks every day he's not at work, so, well, like, he wears different socks to work and then he changes into hand knit socks when he's home. But those are the 2 finished objects I have for September. Not a ton. Like I said, a lot of my projects are larger projects, and so I haven't really finished those in September. But I wanted to share about my stash stats for September, how many skeins I brought in versus how much I got out, and where I'm standing year to date for using stash in versus stash out. Alright, so I track everything in a knitting notebook stash wise. And so I haven't really shared much of this year, but essentially every month I track how many skeins in and skeins out are from my stash. I only count skeins out once projects are done. So I don't, like, if I'm halfway through a sweater and say I've used like 3 skeins, I don't count those skeins out until the project is done. But I also count how many grams out I get as well versus grams in. Same premise. I don't count something as out until the project is bound off. And that's just an easier way for me to track, like, when a project is done is when I count it as out. Otherwise, I think it would be way too much admin. But for September, I got out 2 skeins of yarn. And those are the 2 skeins for the hot water bottle cover. And I got out 210 grams. So I don't count scraps as skeins. Skeins are new skeins. Grams include scraps and totals from new skeins. So I got 210 grams out from both the hot water bottle cover and the DK weight socks. I did destash some yarn this previous month, so I destashed 20 skeins. And I got out 1,000 grams. So most of those skeins were 50 gram skeins, which is why it was 1,000 grams. If you're interested in destash, it's linked down below if you ever want to look. I just sometimes add things there. So that helped contribute to my total out this previous month. And then for my stash in, I did go to Wisconsin Sheep and Wool in September. Shane's family lives very close to where Wisconsin Sheep and Wool happens, which is at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds in Wisconsin. It's like a 45-minute drive for them. So we went there, we visited them, we stayed with them for about a week, went to the yarn festival, stayed with them, saw family. It was a really lovely time. I love this t-shirt. I love, like, the watercolor sheep. I think it looks so cute. But because I went to that, I did do some yarn buying. I've done well for most of the year not doing a ton of yarn buying, but I knew Flock and Wisconsin Sheep and Wool yarn buying was going to happen. So, all that to say, I did bring in 13 skeins of yarn in the month of September, and I brought in 1,351 grams. So most of those skeins were about 100 grams. There were some that were a little over. So overall, month to date, so for September, I had a -9 skeins out, and year to date that brings me to a -20 skeins out, which is very good. Something that I am looking at doing, just getting skeins out in general. But I do think it's interesting. So month to date, gram wise, I'm at 141 grams adding. And year to date, I'm at a plus 720 grams. So I've added more grams into my stash, but I've used more skeins out of my stash. And so what that tells me is just, you know, you're very likely when you're knitting like a hat or something, like you're not going to use all the yarn. Like the hot water bottle cover. Technically it was 2 skeins out, but they were 100 grams, but I only used 90 grams, so I count 90 grams out. But that 10 grams is still in my stash, in my scraps. So that's why scrappy projects are nice. And I like being able to look at that difference. But overall, the fact that I'm at a negative skeins makes me very happy. Plus, I know once I finish some of these current works in progress, it's gonna get some of those skeins and the grams down. It's because I didn't finish any large projects in September. And honestly, I don't know if I finished any large projects in August. Let me look. I did finish my tank top in August, but otherwise it was just some accessories. So I do know once I get some of these sweaters out, some of that will go down as well. But those are my September stats. I just wanted to give a little update about that. And then we'll move into works in progress. So I'll share you all the things that I've been working on over the previous month. Works in progress wise, I have about 4 that I've worked on over the past month, knitting wise, and I have 1 spinning project to show you. So the first project I want to talk about is the one that is closest to being done. And this is a Oslo Hat by Petite Knit that I am knitting for my husband Shane. I started this around, I think it was the 5th of September, and I am just about finished with it. And this is where it's at. So I am currently on the crown decreases, and I thought about, do I finish it before recording today? And then I was feeling that it should record. So when I'm ready to sit down and talk, I just have to do it. So I haven't finished it yet, and it'll count as an October finished object anyway. So it'll be in the next podcast episode, even though it's basically done. So for this project, it is currently in my beautiful sister bag. I love this one. Ferns are my favorite plant. I love when we go hiking and seeing ferns. I want a fern tattoo. I just haven't got one because I can't decide where I want it. But I love this bag because it can go over your arm. So it's perfect for like on the go knitting. And it has a little pocket inside. So this is the yarn. This is what's left of it. This is Thought to Thread Ritual DK. It's a DK weight yarn. It is 246 yards for 100 grams, and it is 100% organic, non-superwash merino. This is the colorway Novel Pages. Now, I really love non-superwash yarn, especially for garments. I like superwash for socks, but for garments, I'm really leaning more toward non-superwash and accessories because it's water resistant and it will just really keep you warm. And this base is one of my favorite DK non-superwash bases I have used. It is so soft and so plump. I have had an absolutely wonderful time knitting with this yarn, and I will absolutely be watching Thought to Thread's Instagram and store because I want a sweater in this yarn. It is so soft and nice. I'm gushing, but I really, really love this base. I picked this up in Flock. I thought I might have picked up a second skein. I did pick up other yarn from Thought to Thread, but not in this base. I love this base. I highly recommend it. But it's just knit up so well. This yarn is like a tonal. It's really pretty. You can see slight variation in it, but it's just a really gorgeous like beige. And so this is a hat for Shane. He picked out this color. I'm pretty sure in Tyler's booth at Flock there was an Oslo hat in a sample in this color, so of course Shane was like, I want that hat. So I made this. In my previous episode I did mention I made an Oslo hat for my brother-in-law, and so I had Shane try that on to try to figure out the measurements that he would like. So I have made a few modifications to the lengths in this project. So typically this brim you're supposed to knit to 6 inches total to get a 3-inch brim. Shane wanted a shorter brim, so his brim is a 2.5-inch brim before I did the switcheroo. So because the brim is shorter, I had to lengthen the overall top portion of the hat. And so I knit this bottom edge to the top before I started the crown decreases to be 6.5 inches. And so basically from the bottom of the hat to the top, it'll be 6.5 inches for the body, and then the crown I measured on the previous hat. The crown adds about 2.5 inches, so the total length of Shane's hat should be about 9 inches. And just because he wanted one that wasn't too slouchy this time because of the folded brim, and he doesn't like as thick of a folded brim, so since I shortened this, I had to lengthen the length of this portion of the hat from the pattern. But I think if you overall just look at the pattern to see what the total length should be, if you shorten any of this, you just have to add it to the top portion. I'm knitting these on US 4s. Just been on my ChiaoGoo 16-inch circulars. I have my knitting ruler so that I could see when I was at that 6.5 inches, and this is from Twice Sheared Sheep. This ruler, I love this. I use it for garments and hats all the time because otherwise I feel like I'm measuring all the time. And yeah, I'm on the crown decreases. Honestly, once I finish this, maybe when I'm editing the podcast, I'll probably be working on this and then having a little blocking party this afternoon. I love the color. I think it's gorgeous. And I'm knitting not the adult large. I'm knitting, technically she calls it the women's. I just think it's the adult size. So that's this hat. I really love it. I love this base. And this has been a lovely meeting project. It's so much stockinette and you get so much knitting done. It's really nice. And unlike a sock, like socks you have to like stop when you get to the heel, this can keep you occupied for a while. So we have a staff meeting next week, and so I either need to start a sock or another one of these for that. I think I need an Oslo hat for myself, so I'll probably go look at my stash here shortly to see if I can start one, although there is another hat that I need to start, so maybe I won't. But yeah, Oslo hat by Petite Knit. I understand why everyone loves this pattern because I love it so much. So for the rest of my works in progress, I think I'm just going to go oldest to newest because I think that's going to work in my brain today. And so the next project that I have to show you is my Eastwind Jacket, which is by Emily Foden. And this is a pattern that was in the Knits About Winter book by Pom Pom. And I've been working on this since January of this year. So it's been on my needles for about, 9 months? Not that I've been working on it actively this whole time, but I've made some exciting progress this month. So this is a jacket pattern that is knit in pieces. It is a DK weight held with a lace weight mohair, and I have so much progress. So this currently lives in my Fiber Hustle chip sack. This is the large size. I love this one. And it fits really nicely because the pieces just fold up. So these two pieces were already done. They are the front left and front right. you knit them like this. You can tell it's got a fold in it. And then you knit a pocket and graft it together. So I had both this is the front here, and you can tell it's got a very large exaggerated drop shoulder, because if this is here, so you can see it's got a really big drop shoulder. It's got a cable that goes up and then a slight texture. So that's the front piece. I had already finished this other front left, which I just noticed I haven't completely seamed up this pocket. I also don't know if this one has been blocked. Anyway, so those are the two front pieces. I need to seam up that pocket. But I finished the two back pieces. They're very gangly and hard to hold up. But I finished the two back pieces. So for the back pieces, I was knitting them 2 at a time because I just wanted them to be the same length. I didn't want my gauge to change. Plus, it just made it to where once I was finished, I feel so relieved that like they're both done. I don't have to start another piece. So this is the back piece. It's pretty much exactly the same as the front pieces, except there's no pocket. And then there is some short rows that happen before you bind off for the shoulder, which is what this looks like. And then the collar in the back is a little wider. But you bind off in this contrast color, and there's still the cable, and you start in the contrast color as well. So the two back pieces will be seamed together with, this is where having an extra person would be really helpful. So the two cables will be seamed up together. So yeah, I finished the back pieces. So my next main steps are going to be, I'm going to block these pieces. What I'll do is I'll probably go ahead and reblock the front pieces as well. So I'm just going to go reblock all these pieces today. I'm going to lay them out, make sure they're all like blocked to the same height measurements so that when I go to seam, everything is going to match up really nicely. So that's kind of the hope for this weekend. So I'm going to try to block them, lay them out to dry, and then it's going to be time for seaming them together. Once they're seamed together, I do still have to knit the sleeves, but it's basically you go around and knit, pick up the stitches here, and I think you just knit ribbing. Like, it's not any sleeve really, it's just a really long ribbing for the bottom of the jacket. And then I will have to go around and pick up the button band. And then I already have my buttons. I have some toggle buttons, but I'm really excited to get this blocked and then seamed, because then I can try it on and I can see if it's going to fit. I had taken preliminary measurements of like this piece once it was done, and everything looked like it was going to work out well, but this is my first seamed garment, and it's a jacket, and I'm really excited about it, and I really hope it fits. So this is my Eastwind jacket. It looks crazy right now. It's in tons of pieces. I'm gonna have a little blocking party this afternoon. Honestly, the fabric is so nice. It's going to be so warm. So the yarns I am using. So my main color is this. It is West Yorkshire Spinners Fleece Jacobs DK. This is the colorway medium gray. And then for the little pop-up color on the ends, I'm using light gray. So you use that here, the pocket linings and the cast on. I might bind off with it on the sleeves, but you really don't use a lot of this yarn. Like, this is still only the first skein that I've used of this. And then also with the main color, I'm holding Rowan Kid Silk Mohair in the colorway Smoke. So these are the two that I'm holding together. I'm knitting this on US 5s. it's gone really well. Honestly, it grows pretty quickly when I was working on it. It was just when I was doing the 2 at the time. Once you cast on the sleeves, those rows were very long. But then once I got to the short rows, so I'm holding up the blocked piece because it just lays a little better. But once I got to the short rows on the back and then binding off the shoulder slope here, it goes so fast and that's so rewarding. So I'm very excited to go get this soaking after I record today because I just want to see what it's going to look like together and I want to try it on, and I'm so close. And the fact that all I have left to do is the sleeves and the button band, I'm going to be able to wear this cold season. So I'm very excited. It's been a lovely project to work on. Yeah, I will say I use my row counter app with my like reminder set, and that's been a game. Like, I couldn't do this project pen and paper because I have a main counter that's linked to the repeat counter for the body with the twisted stitches, and then a counter for the cable. So whenever it was a cable row, the row counter would pop up and tell me it was a cable row, or if it was a row with the twisted stitches, it would pop up and tell me those. So highly recommend digital row counters. I will always use them. I have always used them, and I will always use them going forward because I can't imagine trying to keep track with like tally marks on paper. But that's just like how my brain works. So just letting you know, that's what I do. I'm so excited. So I'll probably have a little like Instagram photos and Instagram stories of like it being laid out to block, and like we'll see how the seaming goes. It's just mattress stitch and you slipped the first stitch on every row, so I think the seaming should go pretty well. But that's the biggest project that I've made progress on. I'm very excited about it. But look, this is how big this bag is. I just shoved all those pieces back in there and it's totally fine. The next oldest project is living in this Stolen Minutes bag. This is the large size. I think this print is really cute. And this is my Traveler hoodie by Andrea Mowry that I am knitting for Shane. Shane currently has a good amount of projects on my needles. I brought this when we went to Wisconsin, and this was one of my main projects that I worked on. And I think I've made decent progress. So, the last time you saw this, let me find my stitch marker. Oh yeah, I've made good progress. The last time you saw this, my stitch marker was here. So, since my last episode, I have... What's crazy is I've done so much work and there's still so much to do. Also, there are ends everywhere. But this is what it looks like. So I have finished the front yoke. So you knit in the round until you split for the front and back yoke. So I have finished the front yoke where you cast on a little extra stitches for the sleeve. And then you have some shoulder shaping. These are on my barber cords. This is the front neck. Of course, I'm wearing a blue shirt, which makes this difficult to see. And then this is the other shoulders. So the shoulders are on hold, and I've gone back and picked up the back yoke. So now I'm knitting this up to meet the same arm length before binding off the shoulders. So a lot of knitting, a lot of progress. Because Shane is taller than me, I knit the body a good amount longer than what's called for in the pattern. I think I knit to, let me check. So I still have the back yoke to do, and then once I do that, I'm going to block it before I go and pick up the sleeves and pick up the hood. So there's still a good amount of knitting on this, because even though this one is a drop shoulder, it actually has sleeves. So it's definitely been a lot of knitting, but I really love the knit and purl texture that Andrea uses in this pattern. So I am knitting this in the same yarn that I used to knit my traveler hoodie. So this is Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. It is the colorway Solstice Heather. And honestly, I'm really impressed by how few skeins I've used so far. I think I'm on like my 6th skein, so I'm only at like 300 grams. Okay, Ravelry finally loaded so I can explain to you the lengths I'm using. So overall, from shoulder to bottom hem, I want his hoodie to be 28 inches. So for this bottom portion before the sleeves, I wanted that to be 12 inches because after blocking it should be about 14. And the bottom hem I increased to 3 inches. So this is 3 inches. This was knit to 12, should be 14. And then for the sleeves, I knit it to be 9 inches. And then the shoulder shaping adds a little length as well. So after I finished this front piece, I did lay it out next to one of his hoodies, and it's really similar in length right now. So even if it grows a little bit, it will be good. But it just means I don't have to like aggressively block it when I go to lay it out to dry, which I think will be good. I may have made it a little longer, but I don't think Shane will mind. And I'm knitting him the size 3, which with my gauge is going to be about a 49.5 inch garment, which is the same size that my hoodie is. He wanted his to be a little oversized on him. He tried my hoodie on, even though it was short, it width-wise was the right size. So I've made really good progress on this. This is a good one. Now that while my Eastwind is blocking, I can work on this one to try to get some more inches done. And then once it blocks, I can go back to the Eastwind and kind of work on the two concurrently to try to get some progress done. So then I have one more, is it one more? Yes. One more knitting object, knitting project. One more knitting project to show you. This is in this Tanny Casey bag. It has really cute sheeps on it. And this is a Sophie Shawl, also by Petite Knit, that I am knitting for Shane's mom. So at the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, I had told her that there was a booth that had lots of theme yarn, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I think they also had Outlander. It was the Bumblebee Acres yarn booth. And so she's a really big Harry Potter fan. And we found this Mrs. Weasley's Knits, which is in the Squishy DK. I wound this by hand, so that's why it looks like this. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, DK weight. So she saw the booth and asked me, like, if I pick out some yarn and if I buy it, will you make me a scarf? And I said, of course. So we went, we picked out this yarn. I think it's really fun. It's got like these dark purples, but then like the pops of green and the pops of red, the pops of orange. Definitely reminiscent of Mrs. Weasley's knitting. And so I showed her the Sophie Shawl and she was like, yeah, that'll work perfect. That was just kind of my go-to idea. It's good for yarns that have lots of colors since it's so plain. So the pattern is written for a worsted weight. So I went down a needle size from a US 8 to a US 6 just to make it work well. And this is what it looks like so far. It's so fun. So as it increases, the yarn is pooling a little bit differently, and I think it looks really cool. The dark purple kind of like mutes everything down, but then there's the pops of color, and I think it'll be a fun like scarf for the colder months for her. So basically what I'm going to do is we bought 2 skeins of this. This is what it looks like in the skein. So you can really see like the dark purple and then the pops of the other colors. And then how it looks knit up. Or how it looks skeined up and then how it looks knit up. Very cool. So my plan for this is because the Sophie Shawl, essentially what you do is you increase until you're about halfway, and then you start decreasing. So when I have about 10 to 15 grams of this skein left, I'm just going to start decreasing. Or we looked at the length, and so I'll either, when I get to the width that she wants, or I'm almost halfway through the yarn, I'll start decreasing, whichever comes first. But I really want to use up as much of this as possible, and it's just a really fun project. It has an I-cord on the edge, so it's just some slip stitches and then some increases, and you're good to go. Such an easy project. It's a really good gift knit. Honestly, this one is now a good, like, mindless knitting. I do use a row counter for this because it's hard for me to read when you do the increases. So I do use just like simple row counters so that I can keep track of my increase rows. But I think the drape is really pretty. I'm glad I went down to the US 6 because it's not too dense, but it's not too open. So I think it'll be a nice fabric for a scarf. And I know she watches sometimes, so here's progress on your Sophie shawl so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, so this has been a fun project. I really like I will just like sit here and look at the colors to see how they're changing. I think it's cool how there's like this one section where like all the purples kind of blended together and then the oranges are just like interspersing out. It's really cool. And a really fun project. So that is that. So those are all of my active knitting projects. I did want to show you some yarn that I'm planning to cake up today. This is Les Garçons BFL sock. It's a sock set. This is the mysterious like bat color. And this is the BFL sock base. So it is 400 yards for 100 grams and the 20 gram mini. I am planning to start a test knit for Hygge Canyon. It is her on-pieced hat. It should be out sometime in November, I believe. That's when the test is due. So it's a fingering weight hat where you hold it double for DK weight. It's got gorgeous cables. You have like a contrast little pop at the brim. So I'm really excited to start this. I need to swatch today. So my plan in my blocking party, I want to block my Eastwind, I want to block that Oslo, and then I want to get this swatch started so that I can block it too and see how it goes. So this is the project that I was thinking, if you're interested in like a project vlog, since I'm doing this as a test knit, I thought it might be fun to do like a take you with me as I work on this project. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Otherwise, you'll probably see it done in the next podcast episode. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, if you want to see a little more like as I work on a project, since this will be a quick one, that one might be fun. So I'm gonna cake this up today. I just wanted to show it beforehand. I think this will be a really fun color to do. And I don't have a blue hat for me. So then I have one spinning project to show you. So at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool, what was really nice about Wisconsin Sheep and Wool versus like Flock had a ton of indie dyers and tons of yarn. But Wisconsin Sheep and Wool had so much fiber. Fleeces, sheepskins, spinning, so much stuff. So one booth I specifically wanted to check out was Snyder Spindles because I wanted to get a Turkish spindle. And I picked this one up. This is I think this was one of the classic ones. And it was 0.9 ounces, 26 grams total. And what's nice about a Turkish spindle is they break down and can become very small and portable. Also, when you're spinning, and I'll show you some of my progress because I bought some fiber at Wisconsin Sheep and Wool and I bought this and I did a little spinning, is it makes these little turtles. So these come on, you wrap it to make these little turtles, and then when you're done you can pull this out and you have a center pull ball. So I ended up doing a single ply of this fiber and then I did a 2 ply of it together, and this is what I got. So I'll give you a little more information on this fiber. So this is my fiber. I stuffed it in a bag for travel. It is the colorway Olive Garden. This was a Coopworth and Mohair blend. It was 8 ounces and I got it from Hidden Valley Farm and Woolen Mill. I love this fiber so much. It's like so airy and fluffy. And so I was worried at first that I was spinning a little too thin or I didn't have enough twist in it. But I think it's because of the mohair. It's really fuzzy, but really lightweight. So I had spun a good portion of this while we were staying with Shane's parents. And then I just wanted to take off my singles, ply them together to see how my yarn was going to come together. And I am very happy with it. So this is what it looks like. I have not washed this yet, so I need to, but I wanted to just do like a little test before I committed to like spinning 8 ounces of this fiber and then me not liking it. So this was my little spinning test. As you can see, I have a ton of this fiber left. It was 8 ounces. It was only like $30. And I've never spun Coopworth before, but I'm really enjoying it. So this is my main spinning project, as you can see. I really like the little blips of like orange, and it's a really tonally green. So I really love this. I've really been enjoying drop spindling. I have another drop spindle spin going. I haven't made a ton of progress on it, but I really love the Turkish spindle because spinning onto this just gets you a center pull ball, which will be so much easier for plying. Like, it was so simple because I had my center pull ball of my single, so then when I went to ply these together, I could just ply from my starting end and the center pull end and just ply it together. It's so nice. So I really do enjoy this. And it's just been really nice and really easy to take around. So that's September. That's everything I've worked on over the last month. Honestly, that's most of my projects. There's 1 or 2 others that are a little long term that I haven't worked on, but overall I feel really good about the progress that I've made over the last month, and I can see some progress coming on these bigger projects, which is really exciting. And it's really exciting because there are a lot of garments that I want to get started as the days are getting cooler. I have so many sweater quantities that I want to knit on, so I just want to, and I love like sinking my teeth into a project, like really like delving in, spending time on like the Traveler and like making good progress and like making good progress on the Eastwind. So if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're okay with the new format, with the podcast episodes spread out. Again, let me know your feedback down below. What types of videos would you like to see in between podcast episodes? What would you like to keep up with? What would you like to know? Let me know anything down below in the comments that you'd like me to. Thank you for spending time with me, and I'll see you guys at the beginning of November for my October recap. So happy knitting. I hope you've put a little bit of love into every stitch today, and I'll see you guys very soon.